Depression is a common but serious mood disorder. It causes severe symptoms that affect how you feel, think, and handle daily activities such as sleeping, eating, or working. To be diagnosed with depression, the symptoms must be present for at least 2 weeks.
Now, according to Sapolsky, there are 3 different types of depression. The depression that makes someone sad for a small moment, but they can jump out of easily, like a bad grade on a test. And then there's the kind of depression that comes from a major burden, like a death of a family member, that depresses someone for a while, but they eventually jump out and get over it. And then there is major depression, that once someone goes into it, they don't come out. And without help, the symptoms will last for a long time.
Depression can be something that happens biologically and eventfully. For example, a major event that, when mixed with biology, makes a person fall into a depressive state. Or depression that happens only eventfully. After 4 to 5 times of being hit by constant big burdens, a person is more apt to fall into a depressive state.
What are the different causes for depression? There is no agreement among psychologists about the causes of depression. However, the different risks for depression are separated into 3 approaches to behavior: biological, cognitive, and sociocultural. Biological focuses on how genes like 5-HTT, the serotonin transporter gene, sleep patterns, hormone or neurotransmitter imbalance, poor diet, lack of proper exercise, illness, and understimulation of the effort-reward system increase your risk for developing depression. Cognitive includes how cognitive schemas, maladaptive thoughts, and negative attributional style also increase your risk for depression. Sociocultural focuses on how low self-efficacy, marital problems, expected female roles, parental maltreatment, poverty, discrimination and prejudice, war, social class, grieving a loss, natural disasters, media messages, and the lack of social support all can be linked to depression. The risk model is the best way to study factors contributing to depression. For example, if a person has none of the factors, the risk for depression is low. As the factors a person has increases, so does their risk for developing depression. One risk factor is not enough for someone to get depressed.
What is happening biologically with depression? There is a relationship between neurotransmitters, serotonin and dopamine, and depression. The 3 variations of the serotonin transporter gene are LL, SL, and SS alleles. The 2 short alleles, or SS, will increase someone's reactivity to stress and therefore increase the risk for depression. Reduced dopamine levels can also be a contributing factor to depression. Dopamine is a motivator in people for them to take action towards goals, desires, or needs, and it creates feelings of pleasure once they've been accomplished. People with low dopamine levels are less likely to work toward achieving a goal and therefore increase the risk for depression.
How is depression linked to social media? Recent studies have suggested that the quality of social media shows just as strong a link to depression as the quantity. A national survey was conducted of 1,787 adults on how many social media platforms they use regularly. These platforms included Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Google+, Instagram, Snapchat, Reddit, Tumblr, Pinterest, Vine, and LinkedIn. Individuals that reported using the most platforms, which were 7 to 11, had more than 3 times the risk of depression and anxiety than those with the least platforms. Even after adjusting time spent on these platforms, the results still remain the same. Additionally, a constant comparison between ourselves and others online shows a greater link to depression than those we make offline.
What is it in social media that causes depression? One possible reason is that when people use more platforms, they tend to multitask, like switching between apps or jobs. Numerous studies have found that multitasking is related to poor attention, cognition, and mood. Another reason is that trying to keep up with the rules and culture associated with these platforms can cause an increased risk of anxiety. Frequency of negative events online, such as bullying, can also increase the risk of depression.
Psychologists did a study to see if Facebook was directly linked to depression. The study predicted that college students tended to compare themselves with others in a negative way when on Facebook and had the time to think and compare. Results supported this idea. Negative social comparison was the context of Facebook use, and this was correlated with greater time to think about how they compared to the others that they saw online. They saw that the amount of accounts someone possesses correlates to how much both males and females make comparisons on social media. Those most at risk for Facebook depression have the most friends online, spend the most time reading updates from the group, and focus on the updates that contain bragging and successful stories.
Now, 1.23 billion people around the world are actually using Facebook to keep up with other people's lives and tell about their own. A study done showed that 25% of college students using Facebook had actually felt depressed at one point or another. And the worst part about this is that Facebook is replacing offline relationships with worse quality social relationships.
A study done by public health researchers at Brown highlighted the role that negative Facebook experiences have on depression. It looked at 264 young adults who were tested on things like frequency, severity, and nature of negative experiences they've already had and their depressive symptoms. Data was collected from daily Facebook use as well as personal background data. Researchers found that 82% of participants reported at least one negative Facebook experience, and 63% said they have had 4 or more. 24% of people reported moderate to severe depression based on the testing done beforehand. The study concluded that among people who experienced any negative Facebook experiences had a 3.2 times greater risk for depressive symptoms. Studies have shown that 20 to 40% of people feel like they have been bullied online. Cyberbullying victims have increased rates of depression, anxiety, and insomnia. Cyberbullying is pushing people's self-worth below your own. Pairing this with comparing yourself to others will have negative effects. Some social media sites use certain words to try to keep people from feeling abuse from another user. Some examples come from unfriending or blocking someone or liking someone's post, which in this common day seems overanalyzed.
iGeneration is a generation that begins with the World Wide Web. It starts in the 1980s and goes up till now. It comes from our love of electronic communication and need to multitask. Compared to the generation of baby boomers who prefer face-to-face contact, we prefer to hide behind social platforms. We've grown up with the need for technology and learned to understand that keeping up our social platform is just as important as maintaining ourselves. We may not notice how much we use technology or how much we're addicted to it, but think about it. How likely are you to walk out of your house without your phone, and how far away are you from it right now?
Now you ask, what are some ways of preventing depression? One of the most effective ways to prevent depression is to educate individuals on the risks of overuse of social media. Also, you could take a certain amount of time to assess the whereabouts, success, and updates of others, and then turn to focus on your own efforts. Also, you can change your perspective. You have to remember that what's online is definitely not the full picture. You can also chart your own individual course and work.
So, should you stop using social media altogether? No. The risk of depression should not be a reason to stop using it altogether. Remember, just because you use social media doesn't mean you are sure to develop depressive symptoms. The important thing to remember, though, is to use these platforms in moderation. Also, by being more educated on the causes of depression, one can be more aware of how they can increase positive experiences rather than negative ones.